As you all probably know, I love video editing. The insane amount of control while editing helps me feel less scared of the random chaos of the universe. Oh God, I gotta talk to my therapist. So today, we're gonna talk about one of my favorite video editing topics, and one that often causes confusion for a lot of beginners. And that topic is the keyframe. Everything that's moving around me right now was made using keyframes. Wow! And now, what is a keyframe? Well, I'll tell you in a second, but you're gonna have to wait until this title screen is over. All right, it's over. So what is a keyframe? In video editing, a keyframe affects the motion of an attribute over time. The motion of an attribute over time. If you want any attribute to change over time, be it position, scale, rotation, opacity, or whatever, you're gonna wanna use keyframes. Now, if I were you, my eyes would already be glazing over. But now that I've blurted out the technical description of what keyframes are, we can get into the practical use of keyframes, which is where it really starts to make sense. So let's begin with a classic by keyframing the opacity of a clip. Opacity refers to how see-through a clip is. So it's the attribute you want to use for fade-ins, fade-outs, and blending clips creatively. To start, let's use keyframes to fade in. I'm going to use Premiere Pro, but keyframes work similarly in most non-linear video editors, and all the principles are the same. To animate any attribute, you will need to create at least 2 keyframes. So we choose 2 points over time, a start point here and an end point here. Each keyframe looks like a diamond, so cute. And based on my reckless spending habits, these keyframes are likely the only diamonds I'll ever see. To have it fade in, we will make the first keyframe 0% opacity and the second 100% opacity. Now, when the playhead hits the first keyframe, it will start moving from 0 and go all the way to 100 when it hits the second keyframe. So, to reiterate, motion happens between the 2 keyframes. So once it hit the first one, it went from 0% opacity until it hit the second, where it was at 100% opacity, or a completely solid image. Okay, cool. So now let's try doing a fade out. So in order to ensure that the opacity doesn't change until I want it to, I will create a third keyframe that matches the second one. So I'll place a keyframe right here and make sure that it is at 100%, as there's no change between keyframe 2 at 100% and keyframe 3 at 100%. Now I will create a 4th keyframe and make it 0%, and that will create a fade out between the 3rd and 4th keyframe, as keyframe 3 is 100 and keyframe 4 is 0. So 100 to 0, it goes from completely solid to completely transparent. Pretty cool. Now, if I wanted to slow down the fade out, all I have to do is click and drag one of the keyframes to make the time between the 100% keyframe and the 0% keyframe longer. Woohoo! You can also use opacity for graphic files over video. Check this out. It's movie magic! So that's using keyframes for opacity, but what's super cool about all of this is that you can apply this process to almost any attribute. In Premiere Pro, pretty much anything with a blue number can be keyframed. So let's try keyframing position and move this car across the screen. So I'm going to set my first keyframe here and my second here, and now watch. This works on rotation, scale, and even with effects like wave warp, change color, and one of my favorites, turbulent displace. You can stack various keyframed attributes on top of each other and whew, it's just endless what you can do. And as you get more advanced, you can start changing the curve of the motion so it is no longer linear. You can use a speed graph and other tools like Easy Ease, which is an incredibly cute name by the way, to have even more control over the motion. But that may be a video for another time. So yeah, keyframes are awesome. If you're ready to take your editing to the next level or want to learn basic animation, start messing around with keyframes. But if you're like me and you start using keyframes to hide from your inner demons, call your therapist. I'm doing okay. See you next time.